What is up, YouTube? Same shirt, same night. Still playing with the Sporty. Don't mind the glitter glide fender. Not zooming in. You guys get none of that yet. That's going to come in the future. Getting everything laid out, but I was running into hardware issues where I needed some chamfered Phillips bolts or some sort of chamfered bolt to line up in the strut areas. As far as I'm aware, I am pretty content with the way that the bottom end of this motor is sitting. I need to lube up the cam bearings and start doing the rest of the bottom end assembly, which means timing the oil pump, putting in the cams, the lifters, all of those other fun parts. That's the part I thoroughly enjoy, and I don't think that's going to take me nearly as long as the mock-up and the assembly, trying to make sure everything fits in proper. So in terms of that, there's a million ways to do it. There's a lot of ways that are probably way more correct than the way that I'm doing it, but I'm making do with what I have in the garage. But I also got the fork lowers over here that I shaved down on a lathe and then sat there sanding down with a palm sander to get rid of the hard cut lines from machining. You shouldn't have to do that if your lathe is set up and everything's working proper and you can do a nice clean pass. I don't have that luxury. I'm just kind of making do with what I got. So fork lowers, I'm super happy with them. I'll try and get some videos of that because I think that's going to be the next video, is actually assembling the front end of this 18 not high shoulder 18 chrome wheel is down on the ground. Brake plates over here by the forks, just aluminum right now. I haven't decided if that's going black or staying aluminum. Just ordered a new tank because the stock tank was probably a ½ inch thick full of Bondo, so I ordered a reproduction stock tank. Upper neck bearings just kind of rusting in here, but I think the next video is going to be the triple trees. This is the gloss black set of trees that I shaved down. I cut everything else. I had Justice coat these for me at the shop. He plugged these because that's what we usually do, is plug any threaded areas. Well, I didn't want these plugged. I wanted these black. That's fine. We're going to make do. And instead of going over the top and redoing them, I thought about doing everything on this bike in satin because there's a lot of gloss happening here. Gloss trees, gloss that. I'm going to mute all of that out with satin on the headlight bucket and the eyebrow because I think I'm going to keep an eyebrow on this. Not the biggest fan of that, but I have a brand new bearing. It's dry, ungreased. So what we're going to do now is actually go through and grease up the bearings and install the triple trees onto this frame. So let me adjust you guys a little bit. I'm going to grease the bearing, slide it down, pound it on with whatever piping or tube that I have laying underneath the workbench right now. Seat the bearing outside of the brand new chrome dust shield. And we're going to slap that back up and assemble the front end. Not the full forks with the lowers, but at least get the triple trees mounted in the frame, because that's what I want to do tonight, and that's less tedious than going through and timing the oil pump gear. Okay, so here is how we are going to start. I got the neck bearing off. Bailey, stop chewing up my brand new bolts that I want to organize tonight. Here's a brand new dust shield. This is going to go on first. I'm going to set that there. I'm going to leave that there just because I tend to forget things as we progress through these videos. Here's the lower neck bearing. I'm wearing gloves. I don't usually wear gloves. However, I need to get a whole tub of grease out to pack up the lower bearing. And doing a bunch of car stuff. I have giant tubs of these. I stole this from the shop. Don't tell anybody. It's my shop. You can tell whoever you want. Just kidding. But we're going to pack up this lower bearing at least. Oddly enough, we just did this pretty much exactly the same job on that Honda CB350F earlier today. And I put Justice to work on his own bike. He's not really super mechanically inclined. He doesn't really understand a lot of these things. So this has been kind of a learning process for him. But packing bearings, it's a good skill to have, a good thing to know. It seems pretty straightforward. But I've seen a ton of people that don't have any idea what they're doing or nobody to look over and give them suggestions or input on how to actually pack a bearing that will literally just kind of take the grease and pack it around the outside and call it good. Well, we want grease in this bearing. like actually fully in this bearing, which means we are going to run this through the paces. And I know they have the bearing packers and the special tools to help with this. I'm not opposed to those. I think those make a lot of sense. But we're going to kind of jam it through here. Yes, we will obviously skim coat the outside, but I also want to make sure we're getting grease in between these races and all of the rollers. And we're going to rotate it around quite a bit. Get it in between all of these. All of the excess grease that I have on my hands and fingers right now is going to go right in the race. And I'm just going to let that bearing sit right there. We're going to lube up the race. I don't know if this is on camera, and I don't know if I can touch anything else. I'm going to cut this right here, but I'm going to take these gross, greasy fingers and hit the bottom side of the race right now. Now, I just took my gloves off. I'm going to put 2 more of these on. Normally, if I do wear gloves, I use the blue latex ones. Harbor Freight ones work okay. We use a lot of gloves at the shop because I don't like getting greasy fingerprints or oils from my hands on customer parts. At home, I don't usually wear these, so this is kind of a new feat for me. But we're going to take the bearing, extra greasy. Extra greasy. I don't need half of this finger grease. Let's just throw it back in the bottom race. Why not? Load it up. The excess we can wash off. I'm going to move the tub for now. Then grab the bearing. A little bit of extra there. Then this bearing is going to drop right down on the race. Like that. You guys are too close. So I just dropped this down on the triple tree right now. Then I'm going to grease up the stem. Why not? But I'm going to grab one pipe that I have sitting here. Like I said, there's a million better ways to do this. A clean section of PVC pipe works really well for this. This is what I got. This is a little bigger than the race, but it's what I have at home. And like I said, this is going to be the crude method to this. Doesn't take much. Just going to seat this down like so. Lower tree will slide up now. Just like so. It doesn't take much to seat that lower bearing. Now, on Harley specifically, I'll let this come back down. On Harleys, this is the exact opposite of the Honda we just did. So if you're watching the other videos, the Honda that I just did, you have a bearing adjuster on the bottom side that mounts onto the neck. On these ones, since I'm running a needle bearing conversion, it changes a little bit. But here is the upper triple tree stem nut. Powder coated satin black, super rusty pitted finish. But this will drop down through the tree, and you notice how far down that sits. On this Sportster, I might still need a longer one, but this will drop up through here. There's no grease on this upper bearing yet. That's okay. I'm just doing rough mock-ups for right now. Hold that up in place. See how much the stem sticks up? We're going to drop this down through. And yes, I know that this will still need adjustment later on. But I'm going to at least catch a couple threads here just to kind of get it started. Like so. 1 3/8 up top. So we're just going to kind of jam this down. There's no washer underneath this. I don't have the dust shield in. I just want to put a little bit of pressure on this to get everything set up, just so we can get a rough visual of what everything's going to look like. Here's the upper dust boot that needs to go on here. Yeah, let's do it the right way. Ish. I loosen this upper nut. Let's take this top tree off. We'll at least get the dust boot on there so we get a better visual. I should also grease the bearing to re-glove up one more time. We'll pack the upper bearing and drop this in. I'm not going to film the upper bearing packing because it's greasy and messy. So, upper bearing is now completely greased up. Notice I got one glove on just to make this a little bit cleaner. I'm going to set that one right in there. Now let's pack up that race. While I have my dirty hand on, we might as well grease all of this up. Anything that smears out or excess we can clean up later on. Like so. Then we're going to drop this bearing back in the neck. Like that. Now, triple trees. The lower is going to come up from the bottom. Then we got the upper. Bearing is fixed on the lower, it's floating on the upper, so you just kind of keep an eye out for that. Make sure it comes up even, stays in place where it's supposed to. Then we're going to take our fancy dust shield, drop this right over the top, give us that nice clean chrome look. And where's our triple tree and nut? This down. And then there's a pinch bolt that's going to lock onto this upper nut. Like I said, just mock-ups for now. We're just kind of getting everything laid out and assembled. This will free spin in the trees. We don't have a top end on yet. Might have been a little too much. Doesn't help that this nut is powder coated, so it's got a little bit of tolerance issues, but we're going to loosen that just a hair. A couple times here. Bring this back to square-ish. And right there is about where we're going to call that good. I don't have the pinch bolt in for the adjustment, but that should do it. We got bearings, we got everything else. When you tighten this pinch bolt, it will keep this kind of fixed. I'm just going through what I have right now to make all of this kind of work. I'd like to try and do a mock-up with those fresh shaved fork lowers. There we have it. Okay, upper stem is on, which means I can start playing around with trying to mount the lowers. Here are the ones that came off of the barn fire bike. They are burnt, they are crusty. You can see where the triple trees kind of landed on there. Super burnt, super crusty. Here's a newer set, and by new I mean still crappy old parts. Donated for free from a friend, but we can start laying some of these out. I do have the fork dampers still in the bottom of this, which is fine. Just kind of get a rough idea of what this is all going to look like. I don't have the pinch bolts right now, so there's a pinch bolt that goes through here that holds the lower, and then the fork cap plugs are going to go in the top. Let's just get a quick little mock-up going here. Yeah, let's use the crusty mock-up ones. They're a little bit closer in terms of being ready to go. These are the exact same length as the crusty ones. So we're going to pop this upper cap off. This is going to get replaced. These are the air bleed ones. We're not going to be running any sort of air on these, so yank these out. This is also a fully loaded set with springs. I have brand new springs, so we'll be doing a full fork rebuild here shortly in the next upcoming video at some point. Don't know when yet, but now I can at least drop a slider in, or the plug in. That'll kind of hold that in place a little bit more solidly than my original version. Sliders are still in these tubes. I'll give this a quick little wipe down. We're not going to go too crazy here. Just a quick aesthetic change. Let's see what this looks like with the shaved lowers. So unthread the Allen bolt like so. Grab the one slider. I don't have seals or anything else like that in here. This will just be a quick little dry fit. Cap goes in, slides into the fork like so. Bolt comes up through the bottom. Like I said, that'll give us a quick temporary mock-up. Don't have the fork seals in, obviously. I don't have half the parts in that I actually need for this. But aesthetically, this gives us a much better picture of what this bike's going to look like when she's all said and done. Got the lower caps and everything else. So I will do a super detailed, thorough fork rebuild soon. But this will lock the upper tree down. This will snug up the lowers. Sorry that it took so long to get out of the drawer, but that's roughly kind of what we're looking at. Obviously the pinch bolts aren't in. This will snug up a little bit more into the taper on the upper tree. You guys are too close. Look at that. All that black just kind of blends in together. Like that. Yeah, might as well do the other one too, huh? Let me turn you guys around. Or let me get the other side set up and we'll be back in a second. Well, just kidding. Some doofus decided to rush the powder coating instead of masking these off the way you're supposed to. And ended up coating. Let's see if we can come around. These are not things that I do on customer bikes, but for my own stuff, I get ambitious. So there's a nice little bit of powder coating right there. That little bit is stopping me from threading these fork tubes up into the lower tree. So it kind of bottoms out and gets stuck right there. Could probably pound it through, but I'm not going to. Got a little bit of sanding to do. That is my own fault, 100%. I would not do that with customer work, but I will do that on my own stuff because I'm usually rushing to try and get stuff done after work. So we're going to leave it at this for tonight. Here we are. We have an Ironhead with forks. Look at how nicely shaved forks look. Super clean. One tab for the mechanical brake. I still got to figure out which side those are going to go on. But now we're getting closer and closer to having an actual real life bike. You guys up on the tripod right now. Just took the little Dremel to knock off the little bit of powder on the edges here. I did not do the best job masking that off, knowing that it was mine, and I was kind of in a rush just to get it in with the rest of the parts. But here's where we're at. This is the crusty old XLCH fork. It has a ton of burn marks from the barn fire that I pulled this out of, which it's chrome. It should clean up a little bit, but I haven't really had the best of luck with that thus far. However, I do also have a set of longer tubes and a set of stock length tubes, all 35 mil, all in the same vintage. So here are the two options. My thought was I was going to keep the, I don't know, looks like 4 over, something. I could grab a tape measure, but I don't really care that much. I was going to keep these ones for the chopper project. Where do I put them on this? I haven't decided yet. As of right now, I'm going to assemble these. Maybe we'll play dress up with this, actually. The dilemma, right? You get too many nice parts. I do want these for the chopper, though, so I'm going to leave the long ones out. Here's a nicer clean set. Not mint by any means. I got nicks and gouges, but way better than the burnt ones. So what we're going to do here is assemble dry. I'm not putting fluid in these yet, but we will do a quick dry assemble on these. So I'm going to take the guts from the burnt ones, which consists of a fork spring, and a dampener tube. There's the bushings. And then you get a little top hat, which are already out of this. So, I'm going to drop all of the hardware on the floor, because that's what I usually do. I haven't even been drinking today, that's the sad part. But this will drop right down, pull the hairs off of it. Drop that down, throw our spring in. See if I can fish this through here, like so. Hopefully this is showing up on camera. Got you guys a little bit farther away because I have crap everywhere and no room for anything. This is the one we're looking for. It's old, it's crusty, but it works. I know for a fact that I have a complete set from the fire bike front end. I just don't know where those are at right now. So here's this, no seals or anything. We're just doing some rough mock-ups here since I'm not adding oil to these. I do have brand new fork hardware for this too, but essentially this is what we're working with. So I'll drop this down a little bit and get this started up top. Like I said, these ones are kind of stock length. I also have new fork caps coming. The short ones that'll just cap this off right here instead of these long tube setups with the little air nipple or bleeder or whatever they are on top. I never understood that. I like the clean ones that just end right here instead of having this extra inch on top. So that's what's going to go on. And then we're going to flip-flop this side too while we're at it. Let's grab our thing, pull the lower slider off. Like so. Drop the bolt again, because that's what I do. Then we will pull off the top of this fork and replace it with the other shiny ones. Because we want shiny things on this bike now. It went from, I was going to leave it a crusty beat up barn fire chopper to adding a ton of paint and powder and glitter and sparkles and all sorts of fun, I guess, according to some people. So, bolt is out. Is this the long one or the short one? Mixed up here. Yeah. That's the one we want. These are the parts I need. So again, spring. This is pretty much how these forks all go together too. Damper. Out of old one and into the new one. So we'll drop this down. Got lucky, slid right through. Throw our oily fork spring in. I did not do that the right way. I just took it out of one crusty burnt up fire one and put it right into another burnt up fire one. We want the new shiny tube. So this will drop down here like so. Then we want the spring. What am I hitting here? Why? Why am I having problems with this? Oh. I still have parts in here. Don't need two damper rods. That's fine. We'll run this one. That was silly. So one of these forks was actually half loaded. Didn't realize that. a full assembly, but we're at least going to do a rough mock-up here. And then we'll tighten these down. I got the nut up on top of the forks too. And then we can look at what this is going to look like with the front wheel in. I might have to throw the back wheel in first, just to get a quick mock-up. One, for mock-up purposes. Two, having it on the bench sideways like this, I need to level the weight because this front end is way heavier than just the swing arm in the back right now. I'm not going to go crazy and torque this all the way, so it might have a little bit of play to it. But that's kind of what we're looking at. Let's bring you guys a little closer. Nice, super glossy front end. This is going to look a lot brighter in the daylight. We'll do the chrome caps, the short ones up front. That'll level that out a little bit. Then let me take a wheel with a temporary gigantic axle here for the 18 that we're going to be running. Not positive if I'm going to keep running this tire or not. That's going to be very dependent on whether or not the other tire I have will actually fit and clear. So there's the back wheel. That'll just weigh out the swing arm. I know on a swing arm setup I can technically run slightly longer shocks and put the high shoulder 18 that I have on here too. I think that would actually look substantially cleaner. Well, there we have it. Front end is on. Look at this beautiful shaved thing. This is a little backwards. I am going to have the wheel flipped around, but in order to do that, I got to figure out where this is going to go. So essentially, I'll show you why here in a second. I have the brake plate over here on this side. As brake plate is now on the left side. I just got to turn the wheel around. The axle will stay the same, but the wheel is going to get turned around, so the brake drum is on this side, and this will get flipped around all the way. So this tang, instead of the arm being in the front of the wheel, this will be right here-ish, getting pulled up into the bracket. So just got to make a linkage bar from here to the front on the other side. That's a whole different video when I go through rebuilding the drum on that. The wheels and the bearings are all redone on that completely. It's ready to roll. It spins nice and smooth and easy with zero resistance. Tire's all good. New tube in there. Everything in that regard is good to go. But I did not have the mini brake drums. I have those now, so I got to pull that back apart just to fix the brakes anyway. Other than that, I did not get into the motor stuff yet, but it's coming. Swing arm is dangling down right now just to balance this out because the front end with a wheel on it is way too heavy. If I lift up the back of this, the whole bike wants to tip off the lift. But essentially, we're pretty much at rough mock-up roller status. So thanks for watching. Like, comment, subscribe if you're following along already. Awesome. If you're not, tell your friends. We're having fun over here and doing things the semi-questionable best way possible with what I have available to me. By no means an expert, but we'll try it and test things out and see what works and doesn't work, and I will post it on here for you as well. Thanks for watching. Catch you on the next one.